Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for coming, guys. I really appreciate your time in kind of learning a little bit more about accessibility. Don't worry, the table will be a lot more obvious further down the line. But the first slide I wanted to show you is essentially the introduction to the talk. Is there anyone in the room that actually understands what's on the screen right now? Superb. The thing with the web is we are developing, we are designing, but we're only doing that for a small amount of the population when you think about it. Someone like Sarah is actually helping us turn the content into something that is being more accessible for people. So for a quick example, this is British Sign Language. Now, British Sign Language is not the same as British English. So we have to make sure that we are considering absolutely everything when we do this. So essentially what Sarah was signing was, it's a little accessibility going a long way. It's saying her name, it's saying my name, and saying we're going to be talking a little bit about accessibility. If I go the right way. So very quickly, I'm from Nottingham. Our agency is in Nottingham. The beautiful thing about Nottingham is, much like most cities, including Brighton, you have a lot of choice. So Nottingham, you have 2 football teams, you have 2 hospitals, you have a range of different shops. But what we have to make sure is anything that we go to, people have a choice to get what they want. And this is also exactly the same when it comes to websites. So before I start, I'd really like to know who's in the room. So hands up if you're a developer. Content writer? Designer? Fan of accessibility? Ah, beautiful. The good thing is we're not all the same in this room. We're all different. We're all independent. It's fantastic. But we are all part of accessibility. It's not just one person's responsibility. It is everyone's responsibility. And this is why I genuinely think that accessibility is just flipping brilliant. Anything that we do, we have to make sure it is for everyone. If we were to make websites that we didn't consider accessible, essentially this is what we're getting. In a way, this is what we had on the very first slide of just someone signing. We didn't understand what is being presented. Whereas, when we have something that does have clear content, you can then start to understand why we're doing it, what the information is, and how we're trying to get that across. So accessibility comes in many different forms. Now, I don't know, does anyone remember a small, low-budget, B-rated film called Frozen? I don't think it was very popular everywhere. The beauty with what Frozen does is it actually engaged people that did have a disability. So, for example, we're playing this with no sound, with no captioning whatsoever. But people that did have, 20/20 vision was able to kind of understand what is going on here. You also see this in more things like CBeebies as well. So you have someone called Mr. Tumble, as essentially Mr. Tumble is using Makaton to actually sign and actually bring more people into this. So you're engaging with people a lot easier by using fun things like Frozen. So if we play the next video, you're actually going to have just a little bit of audio of explaining why this video is very good. And I do apologize, there is no subtitling on this one.
From the creators of Tangled and Wreck-It Ralph, Disney. A carrot-nosed, coal-eyed snowman shuffles up to a purple flower peeping out of deep snow.
Ooh, hello.
He takes a deep sniff. His nose lands on a frozen pond. A reindeer looks up and pants like a dog. Seeing the reindeer slip on the ice, the snowman smiles and moves towards him, though actually he's running on the spot. The reindeer falls on his chin. The snowman uses his arm as a crutch. The reindeer paddles his front legs. Head over heels, the snowman crawls along the ice. The reindeer does the breaststroke. The snowman rolls his body, but flips onto his back. The reindeer's tongue sticks to the ice. The snowman held his head. Twig arm and reindeer lips tug at the carrot. The carrot flies off and lands in soft snow. The reindeer goes after it with snowman and his body parts hanging on his tail. The snowman puts himself back together again and glumly contemplates his noseless state. The reindeer jams the carrot back in place and pants like a proud puppy. The snowman pats him with his stick-thin arm. then goes to sneeze. He grabs his nose with both hands. His head shoots off. Frozen, coming this winter in 3D.
So it's brilliant. You know, children love that film, adults love that film, but by having an audio description, it really helped engage more people onto this. Now, the next video I'm going to show you is about 4 minutes long, but we went to an event, and the head of Channel 4 was at this event, and he showed us this video. The video is an advert for the Rio Paralympic Games. And what I love about this video is it proves that accessibility isn't boring. You do not have to have a white background and black text and no images to make your website accessible. It works for exactly the same for this video. So yeah, have a little sit down, enjoy this for a couple of minutes, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did.
Yes, I can, suddenly, yes, I can. Gee, I'm afraid to go on has turned into, yes, I can. Take a look, what do you see? 133 pounds of confidence, me. Got the feeling I can do anything, yes, I can. Something that sings in my blood is telling me, yes, I can. I was just born today, I can go all the way, yes, I can. 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 Hey, yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can!
Are you ready? I can climb Everest. Yes, I can. I can fight here all night and never rest. Yes, I can. I was just born today. I can go all the way. Yes, I can.
So I honestly hope that you enjoyed that as much as I did when we first saw it. It shows you, yes, accessibility isn't just black and white. It is something that can be fun, but it's also something that will affect people so much. You know, that one video might actually empower someone else to actually go to the Paralympics or to actually try something that they never thought about before. And I'm not saying that every website that we build will do that, but it's something you really have to have consideration for. So roughly, you're looking about 1 in 5 of the population has a disability one way or another. There are stats that will go one way or the other, but roughly 1 in 5 is a good one to have. And a good way to kind of demonstrate this is a photo that is on the screen right now. The photo is my family. There's 5 people in there, so technically the statistics should say one of us should have a disability. Well, 4 of us in there need assistive technology. We all wear glasses, so straight away we need a bit of assistance there. 3 of us have dyslexia, so again, we need to understand different things in different ways. Two of us have a very short attention span, and I'm happy to admit that is me. I'm one of them that I really struggle with short attention. And then one thing that you also have to consider that doesn't really get spoke about that much is one of those one person in that group is elderly. Now, that's going to be hearing loss, that's going to have visual loss, so there's a lot of things that you also have to consider about for someone that technically isn't disabled, but someone that actually requires us to help and do that a little bit more. So if you think about roughly the population of Brighton, 230,000 people, really 46,000 people potentially couldn't be accessing your content or your information or your videos because we're not catering to that. But obviously, we're doing things a little bit more. So you think about the population of the UK, that's a lot of people. You know, it really is a lot of people that we might not be talking about. So we plan, we design, we develop, we have these fantastic concepts. We really try and do different things. But why do we not do this for everyone? There are lots of areas that we really can improve on. And this is why we're here today. We're having to talk about a few different bits. So kind of the key factors that we've kind of thought about are essentially it's knowledge, it's time, it's client, and it's money. So there's a lot of things that you can really say. Like knowledge, yes, we're all learning. You know, part of our kind of use as an agency is we're learning on a day-to-day basis. We're not experts in accessibility because we know there is going to be more and more and more to learn. Coming to things like WordCamps, you know, we've tried to speak at as many as we can to try and learn a little bit more and to actually try and put our information out there a bit more. WordCamps are fantastic. Things like accessibility meetups are brilliant. There's one in London, I would highly recommend it. And starting November, we're actually doing our own in Nottingham. So there's going to be an Accessibility Nottingham coming very soon. The next three, I really don't think are excuses. I think we try and find a way to get around it. So time. Time is always a factor, I do understand that. But time is something that you can factor into things. It's all about making sure that your workflow is right. You do not leave accessibility at the very end. You make sure that it's part of absolutely everything. And this is why we all put our hands up at the start. You know, we're not just one accessibility expert. We are a team of people. We are freelancers. We are everything that we can all do this as part of a whole thing. You know, we all love clients. They're brilliant. They always want their logo bigger and something to pop out the screen. But essentially, when we build websites now, we tell them it's going to be accessible. We don't say it's an extra little thing. It's something that we do as part of being an agency. And by putting all that together, yes, they may argue that money is an issue. But if you have the right workflow and you flow things through properly and you think about things in a good way, money shouldn't really be an issue. But if they do start to kind of argue, there is a low-budget airline that, just like us, love the color orange. And they put on their website that they have 450,000 people travel with them that have a disability. Now, if you take the average cost of a flight, now they're an online-only business, really, so an average cost of a flight is roughly £90. So if they did not cater for disabled people, they're missing out on over £40 million. If a client doesn't look at you and say, right, I need to do something, and they're looking at the cost that they might be losing, there's something wrong with that client. So I'm only saying this because we've got a problem with our website at the moment. We've had a security certificate issue, and I know when people come to our website, they will see that it doesn't look secure. It looks unsecure. And people will not want to transact with that website if it looks unsecure, or if you get that little red cross in there. So what do you think would happen if a disabled person went onto your website and it is inaccessible? Disabled people work. Disabled people have money in their pocket ready to spend. If they go onto a website and they cannot transact with that website, they are going to get frustrated, and just like the first slide, they have choice. They'll go somewhere else. So this is why we need to make sure that everything that we do does consider everyone as well. So one of the ways that we're improving as an agency is we're partnering with the Sure Trust. The Sure Trust are a charity that use real people to test websites. These people use websites using assistive technology on a day-to-day basis. It's not someone quickly using a quick tool. This is actual people doing their actual job. And it's been fantastic to learn different ways and different reasons behind kind of accessible websites. So the reason why we've got a table is we've got Alan and Graham from the Sure Trust. I've had to build a horrible, horrible website, but just to prove to you why an inaccessible website is such a pain. So please welcome Alan and Graham onto the stage. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to quickly set up the laptop using JAWS. Now, JAWS is a screen reading tool. JAWS reads out the website that they're essentially on. The screen that you can see at the moment are essentially what the website will be. Yes, it is a pretty plain-looking website, but, and again, it pained me to do this, there are so many inaccessible issues with this. I really don't want to build a website like this again. But what we're going to do is just kind of show you how JAWS would pick up on these issues and hopefully demonstrate a really good way of how bad accessibility is. Yep.
To activate, press spacebar, Alt+C, the colors. A cheesy example of bad A11Y dash Internet Explorer. A cheesy example of bad A11Y. A cheesy example.
Okay. Yeah, do you want to refresh that one? That would do it. Okay. Okay, so like James said, we've got a page, a page on the screen. So this is what would be directed to, whether it's from a browser or a page perhaps from your own website, to be directed to someone. So what I'm going to do is just refresh the page to simulate me using that link to get there. Hopefully it'll work.
F5, a cheesy example of bad A11Y. A cheesy example.
Like all cheeses, mozzarella starts from milk.
Okay,
To
it's a
assure
bit
good
quiet on
milk
that floor,
quality.
but so by activating the link, I've got a video starting with lots of voice, sound. Fortunately, I've done it before, so I know hopefully how to turn it off.
Liters of raw milk at a temperature of 3 or 4 degrees centigrade.
So like I said, I knew after looking at James' website how to pause that video when I first got onto it. But like James says, if I first went on there as a potential client or to purchase something or get the information, I wouldn't be looking for the pause button somewhere around because I couldn't quite hear it. I would just press Alt F4 to delete it and try and browse for something else that's got similar information or products. So that's one thing that's the impacts straight away. Now on your website, you'll want people to see information. What I normally go to first of all when I get to a page is headings. So what this does is highlights the titles of each part of your paragraphs through your website and allows me to make it a little bit shorter. And what I'll do there, I'll just listen.
Heading list dialog. Headings list view. More videos, :2. 1.
So all this is telling me that there's more videos on the page where I can go to, but by reading the whole by reading the whole page, I know there's a lot more information than videos, but I'm going to have to try and find them. So we'd have to I've opened up links, which are shortening a little bit
Links
more.
list dialog. Cheese, how to make cheddar cheese, left pair, cheese making dash a visit at a Swiss dairyman with 15 things you didn't know the purpose of. How it's made, honey, Ian Collier, bullet 15.
Again, it shortens it, but again, I know there's more information within the page. But
you won't believe what this machine can do. Tech Zone bullet 789K views 1009.
okay, so there we've got a link there labeling with lots of what I would call nonsense that somebody with a visual impairment that's listening to JAWS doesn't need to know. When you actually see it visually, if that was actually on the page, you would ignore it. You would just go and think, oh, that's the page I want to go to activate that link. Okay, so
Tab. Move to link button. To activate, press space. Link in text zone. You won't believe text 1009.
right, so I know they're somewhere.
Link 446. Link in text 10. Link making saltwater taffy at airspeed. Alive bullet 6.8 M views. 1558. Link top 5 coolest. Top 5 1018. Link amazing catching scallops in the sea. Modern oysters and scallops packing processing factory.
Okay, so
Machine Oz bullet 430.
lots of these are actually lists, and what happens with lists, if they're not marked, they'll read as like a sentence to someone who's using JAWS. So an example I would use is like a shopping list. If you had chocolate buttons, are they chocolate buttons made by Cadbury's, or do you want to buy a bar of chocolate and some buttons to put on a cardie or something? So by making it as a list and bullet points, it actually identifies that with a screen reader. Okay, so I lost my sight in 2000, so before that I could see. And the great thing with like graphics is it does bring the page alive. So I've got a shortcut where I can show the graphics on a page.
Select a graphic dialog. Cheese / profile underline images / 973 quadrillion 244 trillion 527
I'll get a cup of tea
billion
first,
250
and then-
million 100.
Okay, so that graphic hasn't told me anything apart from a long string of numbers, which actually is the file name. Okay, hopefully the better website will show or hear, I'll hear what it actually means.
Cheese-photo.jpg.
So there we got cheese, JP, a picture of a cheese. Doesn't give me too much, doesn't really explain what the picture actually is.
Tab, okay.
Okay, then we've got form fields. Obviously, we heard before about getting in contact, who, you know, your client base, you want to keep in contact with them. So if you've got a form field, you want to know what to put in there
No form fields were found.
or not.
Escape.
Sorry.
Amazing. Select a form field dialog. List 1, list view. Watch later button. 1 of 18. Share menu. Next button. Close button.
Okay, so we've got
Next button.
a label there. Next what? Video, next post, next something else. Just that little bit of direction.
Close button. Seek slider. Slide play button. Mute button. Unlabeled 1 button. Unlabeled 1 slider 1 button. Settings menu. Full screen. Name edit. Email edit. Radio button not checked.
Okay, so
Email name edit.
I've got name, which I do know that.
Email edit.
Okay, my email address.
Radio button not checked.
Okay, I've got a radio button.
Radio button not checked.
I've got 2 of them.
Submit query button.
So
Radio.
first of all, I'm going to say, well, I'm not going to sign up for that because I don't know what I'm going to be ticking.
Radio button not checked.
If I quickly
Tab,
move
space,
there.
Amazing catching scale HTML. A cheesy example. Radio button not checked. HTML.
Okay, HTML.
Radio button not checked. Edit. 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 Test 1
So
escape.
what am I clicking for? Am I clicking for the message coming in HTML or something else? There's no information directing me to actually do that or click that form. And obviously you can use that to more important stuff that you'll have for your contact, whether you want monthly, weekly, whether you want them to have perhaps a question with yes and no answers on. And so if they're labelled correctly with the information, then you as the website host or the website person will get that information that you're requiring. I think that's all on there. Yeah? Yeah.
Fantastic.
so
Thank you
back
very
over to
much, Alan.
James,
The one thing that we found that when we first started to kind of do things like this was how tough it is for people to use JAWS. Now, Alan slowed that down. And if that was being used as a proper website, oh my word, it gets so loud, it gets so constant, it's so fast. And that's because obviously that's how people do use these systems as well. So we have to consider quite a lot when we do go into actually build websites. So obviously the talk is how a little bit of accessibility can go a long way. So I've got a few examples of how we can actually improve that website just by doing small little tasks. The thing that we have to remember is accessibility has to start at the start. This isn't something that happens 80% of the way in. We spoke to a provider that wanted a bit of assistance with their accessibility. They were going to bring us in when the content was going to start to be righted at the very end in their process. We can't. We've got no code. We've got no design. We don't know the actual process of what is going through. So always consider this at the very start of what you do. So when you start to do the wireframes, you can start to look into, right, what problems could I be looking into? Am I going to have a video in there? Is it going to auto-start? It won't auto-start, hopefully, after this talk. But you want to look at things like carousels, sliders, accordions. How is your content going to be read out? How is your content going to be consumed by other people? And you can do that straight away by going to your wireframes. A very good website is the Ali Project. It isn't, it's not going to tell you exactly everything of how to get something accessible, but it's a really, really good start. It's got some very good little tips and tricks, especially around your semantic markup, making sure that's right for you. We will tweet out all of these links at the end of the talk as well. So then it moves on to the designers in the world. So the designers will then want to put all their pretty colors in and make sure that everything really just pop out of the screen. Yesterday there was a fantastic talk about the history of colors and the background of colors and where essentially colors are going, essentially, and how we're using them. So obviously colors are very important when it comes to a website. One of the most important things to think about is color blindness. Now, how many people in the room cannot see a number within that circle? Fantastic. I was recently at WordCamp Boston, and we did pretty much the same talk, and actually someone put their hand up that didn't know that they had a colorblind impairment. So we actually just kind of found someone in the audience that didn't know about this before, which was amazing. But you need to know about how your colors do work with each other. And when kind of designers come back and say, no, I have to use this specific color, this specific reason, there are, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that number, there are a lot of color combinations just within hex codes. They're safe to say with that big number. But if you just take 1% of them and say that they are accessible, that is still giving you 141 million combinations. Now, that's a lot of combinations. That's a lot that you can work with. I understand that when you have a branding guidelines or color sheets that you've been given, they may not be accessible. But by using something like this, you can hopefully speak to your client and state, look, there are certain ways to get around this. As you can tell, we love black and we love orange. That is our corporate color schemes. And of course, when we went through the whole process, we found that they were not accessible. So we've actually changed our brand to make sure that we do have an accessible brand. So this is the old one. It only really worked on large text to AA standards with WCAG. And then we made the biggest change of our colors ever. And that was just this. We only went to a small amount. And if you look at the lightness on the screen, that's nothing, but we have made sure that we can use all of this on normal text and on large text a lot easier. So there's websites that you can do this. There are websites and applications that you can pick up. It will tell you the good color contrasts. So you can do that at the start. When you're actually starting to do your designs, quickly check it, see how it is. And again, I will send out links to all of this before. We use Trello within the organization, and Trello is very visual. It's also very color, very bright. But they do have a colorblind mode as well. So they have ways to put patterns in, shading, little tips that they're helping to actually allow people to be included in everything that they do. And then it comes to the coding. Coding, that's my bag. I love coding. I've had to change so much since we're going through this process as well. I'm not going to go into the debate of should we use a web font or should we use SVGs. That is a different talk and a different time. The example I'm giving you today is using web icons. Now, this icon, so I've got 4 icons at the moment, your typical social media icons. And roughly the code looks like this. Now, when you wrap a link around that, what do you think is going to be read out? Because there's no text in there. There's nothing stating what that is. So when Alan uses a screen reader, that's just going to be a blank link. So people will not know that they are going to whatever website they're going to. So this example uses Foundation. The class SR-only is essentially making absolute and -4,000 off the screen. But it won't look any different on the front end, but when Alan reads this page out, it will state visit Facebook. It knows where that link's going to go. But from a designing point of view, it looks the same. Nothing's changed. Your brand will stay the same. All we have done is just change things behind the scenes for you. And then you've got other things like ARIA. So the previous talk was talking about how we can make Ajax within WordPress and WooCommerce. Now, when we add something to the cart, typically we see maybe a number or a cost or something that appears very visual to us, and we can see what's happened. This doesn't happen for screen readers. You have certain things like ARIA Live or ARIA Described By. ARIA Live will allow you to update the code behind the scenes. So when something does get added to the cart, ARIA is then reading out extra information, and that will be read out to the screen readers as well. So there are lots of things on there. There are so many. ARIA Ignore, ARIA, like I say, ARIA Label By, ARIA Required. There is a lot of extra code that can go into your form fields especially. And of course, we can't forget about content. Content is key at the end of the day. So how can content writers help? The best one, you saw Alan using the headings. Make sure your heading structure's right. It's exactly the same in a Word document. It's exactly the same on the website. Make sure they go there first. Heading 1 should only be used once, and then you can go up and down as you wish. But please remember heading structure. Like I say, I do have dyslexia, and I have a very short attention span. If I see this on a page, I'm going to be turned off straight away. Not only because there's a lot of text in a big paragraph, but it's kind of centralized text. So that's starting at completely different positions on that page. There's too much content in there, and it's something that we can easily change just by adding a couple of bullet points and just a short paragraph all left aligned. It will make the world of difference. Please tell me no one puts click here on their links. Click here means absolutely nothing. A link gets read out. A link should be meaningful. A link should actually tell the user where they're going to go. So please do not use click here. If you Google click here, I believe Adobe Acrobat Reader goes up first. There's a reason why that is. People are just putting click here. And also, don't use titles on your links. Your link should be describing where that should be going straight away. Titles should just be ignored now. I'm running out of time, but we will have an example of a good accessible if you wish to see it after this talk as well. I do apologize for rambling on quite a bit on there. And of course, you have to then kind of take a step back. What have I done? Have I done something that is right? Have I done something that's wrong? Do I need to review? Do I need to go back into that agile loop again? So there are little quick ways of doing it. There are automated tests that you can use. Wave is brilliant. Wave allows you to put a website in, use a Chrome or a Firefox extension, and it will quickly tell you if there are issues or if they're not issues. Please be very cautious. I can show you 3 examples of an accessible website that is inaccessible on Wave and vice versa. They can be fooled, but it's very good quick checking to actually find out where the issues are, especially around form labels. And SiteImprove are a testing company. We work with them a lot with our higher education and our local authority clients. But they've also got a free Chrome extension, the checker. The checker will take you straight to the WCAG guidelines to tell you why this part of the site is inaccessible. And kind of before I go, first of all, I'd love to thank the people that are doing our captioning. You know, captioning is extremely useful. It's not just useful for people that may have a hearing difficulty, but people that may have missed some content as well. People that may be on a bus that want to see subtitles on a screen. These are brilliant. So thank you very much for everything. And thank you for listening. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was very, very interesting. Do we have any questions in the audience? No?
Awesome.
I have a quick question. So if you've already built the website and you've realized, I've not thought about any of this, where do you go next? Do you have to rebuild it, or do you think there's ways you can kind of...
No, I mean, if you really... Big examples are search engines. So if you have a search box on the top of your page, typically that's going to be on every single page. So when you get a report from something like SiteCheck or something like that, it will state that you've got 1,000 errors and you need to fix them. But that could just be one change on your template. So obviously this talk wasn't WordPress related, but if you change the header file or the footer file, that could fix a lot of issues. So this is when things like Wave and Siteimprove can help you just run quick tests. If you need other people to quickly help out, this is why we've gone to SureTrust. You know, we need people to help us find new ways. There are free tools, so JAWS is a paid-for tool. It's industry leading. But there are free versions if you want to just test it. Apple have VoiceOver, so there are ways that you can actually do that. But don't panic. Definitely don't panic.
I'm curious to know how many people in the audience actually think about accessibility when they build websites. Can you raise your hands? Amazing. Well done, you. I used to live in China, so accessibility wasn't something anyone considered, so it's come kind of new to it all.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is the UK is getting a lot better. We don't have any legislation that can force things. You look at places like Canada are brilliant, Australia's fantastic. America's getting better because they've got case law now, so people are going around and just suing people. And that may sound bad, but they're getting better accessible websites because of this. Local authorities, public sector are getting better. We're currently working with the GDS to talk them through the UK legislation that's coming through regarding accessibility. And we need to scare some CEOs because they don't care about it. So by having these talks or these demonstrations, it's perfect.
Exactly, just making people aware of it. One question here?
I just wanted to ask about images, really, because we talked about colour, and I just wondered, and I know you said about there was an image, the description can cause a problem if someone's got a visual impairment. But are there any other tips you've got with using images on website for disabilities?
Yeah, it's a case-by-case basis, obviously. Yeah. Alan read out, essentially it was the Brighton logo that I put at the top, and I just put a long file name for that one. If you really want to just have this as a visual thing and you do not want anything to be read out, you can have a null alt text. That won't read anything out. Now, the argument that Alan and myself have about this is, yes, that is very good from what I thought was good from an accessibility point of view because it's not being read out. But Alan went blind at 20. So when I have something like an image of a cheese, Alan knows what that cheese looks like, whereas some blind users may not. So I would really test the audience, try and find out what you think is best. Also, when you have images, don't have text on there. Make sure they're visual text or physical text, and make sure that the brightness isn't too contrasting, essentially, as well.
And if you are naming them, so say you're naming the picture, is it better to have a more detailed description, or you think a very simple description? Or
Again, it depends where it is in the content. Typically, a photo of an image of is wrong. You should really describe what is going on. If it is 3 men on stage, 2 behind a desk, fantastic. Right. It is really trying to make sure that the image isn't holding people back from that information, really.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, Alan, 1 second.
So that image was of cheese. And on the accessible site, it actually says Swiss cheese, which just makes a little bit more dimension to the picture for myself. That makes sense.
Brilliant. Cheers, Alan.
Any more questions?
Hi, guys. Could you tell us a bit more about what it would look like if any of us wanted to commission the SureTrust and what that sort of working relationship is like, please?
I'll leave that one to you.
The SureTrust Accessibility Services have a team based down in Neath in South Wales, and we have a number of individuals that have got a variety of disabilities. We try and cover every eventuality, but it's never going to be 100% possible. But we provide testing services, training services, consultancy services. We can get involved with supporting individuals, organizations, right from design concept, right the way through wireframing, right the way through templates, right the way to a full site. Or if you've done all of that bits and pieces and you've got a live site, we can look at the live final product as well. We can run that through our team. So our team have got obviously first-hand, real-life experience of interacting with content that is or using tools and using specific ways in which to interact with the content, and we can advise you on what's perhaps not quite right, what's wrong, where the issues are, what the issues are, and how to put them right as well. And that can be done. You can come down and visit. You can actually sit with the individual team members and go through a page or a process or a particular area. Or you can let us get on with it, and we'll run through the whole site, and we can give you a comprehensive report at the end of that as well, and then guide you through and help you to fix those issues or do those fixes for you as well. So we can take whatever content you've got, assess it, tell you what's wrong with it, and then give you back a fully accessible website at the end as well.
Wow. Thank you very much.
Any more questions? If not, yeah.
Just before we go, I'd just like to state we do have kind of free accessibility beer mats if you do want anything. We are currently hiring a new developer, so if you are looking to try and get into the accessibility world, please come and talk to us. Essentially, try everything. We're offering free health checks as well, so if you want to have a quick go on your website, let us know. We'll have a quick look while you're here as well. We're here throughout the evening as well, so it'd be great to have a chat.
Thank you very much. This was very interesting. A round of applause.